Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today we are going to make a mermaid siren thingy in a bathtub because my husband printed me one. Though we are not going to fill this with a Disney type of mermaid, no, we are going for the monster baby type of mermaid. So without further ado, let's get started.
He took 100 pounds of clay and then he said, hey listen, I'm gonna fix this world today because I know what's missing.
First off, while I am putting some filler on the top to erase any printing errors, I will apologize for the state of my voice if it sounds a bit weird. That's because I'm fighting a cold right now. So I'm sorry if it sounds a bit funky, but I thought it would be better to have a video where I sound a bit funky than no video at all. So with that out of the way, let's move on to me finishing up the top before I get started on our little mermaid's head. Now, there is a very simple reason to why I'm starting with the head and not the body, even though the body would be the logical choice. And that is because if I am unsure on how to do a thing, then I always start with that thing first, and I am not good at making humanoids. Is still an untreated, challenging territory for me. So while I'm slowly building up the face, why don't we hear a little bit more about the mermaid? A quick disclaimer though, even though I am a Dane and have been spoon-fed Christian Andersen's fairy tales all my life, I am still not an expert on any sea monsters or mermaids. So please don't come for me. But with that being said, let me tell you about the mermaid. Many of us know the Disney version of H. Christian Andersen's story, The Little Mermaid. But for us to fully understand this monster, we need to know the difference between a mermaid and a siren. And for that we need to get back to ancient Greece, where a siren was actually a mix between a lady and a bird, that with their enchanting voice could sing sailors to sleep or lure them into treacherous waters. Later on they changed and became this half woman, half fish underwater creature with wings, until the siren finally split enough so it became two distinctive types of sirens: the flying type that we today call a harpy, and the underwater type that we today call a mermaid. So in short, for what I can gather, the siren is just a temptress of men, luring them to their death, making both the mermaid and the harpy a siren. Though I have to say I don't feel like filling my bathtub with feathers, so that is why we're going to focus on the mermaid for now, putting the harpy on hold, so to speak. Now, in my Danish mind, we can't really talk about mermaids without talking about the fairy tale The Little Mermaid by H. Christian Andersen. That Disney turned so cute that it's not even possible for me to see it through Clayfect eyes because the job has already been done for me. And even in the old version of this fairy tale, the mermaids were more curious and didn't understand the fact that we humans need air to breathe. So that is why they just wanted to pull the sailors down and show them their world, drowning them in the process. They were curious and whimsical, magical sea creatures rather than they were these underwater monsters pulling men down, which is why I'm giving my little underwater monster a curious look as well. And in the fairy tale of The Little Mermaid, you actually just feel bad for her because not only has she lost her voice and every step she takes feels like she's walking on glass, she also actually end up not getting the prince. So she falls on the beach where she passes away and turns into sea foam, as every mermaid apparently does when they are done with life. A sad story, I must say, though we shouldn't forget the darker side of the mermaid and why I think they are a monster. Now, the mermaid's song, enchanting and spellbinding as it is, also bared the tones of sorrow and death when they sang it out to lure sailors to their demise. Sometimes they just put the sailors down to drown them, sometimes they lured them to sleep, other times they redirected them so they hit rocky shores, and other times again they put them in this trance before pulling them underwater and tearing in their flesh. They tempt the sailors with their beauty and their song, and in some stories they even eat the poor fellas when they get them down underwater, which in my opinion really does classify them as a monster. But that is pretty much it, what I know about the mermaid and its tendencies. So with that, let's get back to the sculpture, where I'm building up the body, getting it ready for its first bake. Now, at this point, I am very happy with the body, so I just plug it on some toothpicks before I give it a bit of clay softener, so it can go in for its first bake. Unfortunately, one of the tail finnies doesn't survive the bake, which is sad, but I also think they were too small anyway, so I'm going to remove the other one before we make another set. Though I am going to make it a bit easier on myself and make the tail as the very last thing, so I don't have to deal with a floppy tail fin while I'm sculpting the rest of her body. Normally, now would be the time for me to tell you how I see the siren and see it through Clayfect eyes, but as I said, Disney has already done my job for me, so all I can tell you is about this little siren. Her birth name is technically Brittany Tiffany Sing Song Melanie, though she preferred to go by the name of Brunhilde. You see, while all the other mermaid kids and merboys love to sing with crabs and fishes and enjoy popular music, Brunhilde does more enjoy heavy metal. Death metal, to be more precise, and that's not the only way she stands out. No, she don't want to be defined by any man. So her song is less lowing and more like a warning shot. The fact that she lives near the Bermuda Triangle is purely a coincidence. It has not been determined that is why ship disappears. Though I have to say, the date of her concerts that she frequently holds, unencouraged by the merpeople, by the way, does line up with the dates of the ship that goes missing in the Bermuda Triangle. So there's that. But as our little Brunhilde states, until it is proven, she will stay true to her art. And that's pretty much what I know about Brunhilde. Now let's make that tale I talked about, where I am not only switching from super sculpting to Cosclay, but also are putting some aluminium foil in the middle of it in hope of giving it some more structure. And I have to say, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but this sort of worked out brilliantly. Now all I needed to do was shape and texture the tail a bit before we could put it on and get started on all the facial details, which our dear Brunhilde really are in need of, because at this point she actually just looked like a confused alien in my eyes. Throughout this process, I did doubt myself a lot and wasn't even sure that this sculpture was going to be usable at all, simply because I'm not trained at making humans and I'm not very good at it. But I have to say I am happy how she turns out. And I do end up being pretty proud of myself of challenging me to this extent. If you also like what I'm doing, then please consider like, comment and subscribe. It really means a lot to me and will do a lot for this channel. And I cannot and will not stop thanking my loyal, lovely Clayfuls that every week shows up and loves what I'm doing. You have no idea how much it means to me, and I am so grateful for it. Especially in these unsure times where all this drama is going on. I have to say, as a Dane, I was afraid of getting judged because of my country's choice not to participate in what we deem foolish. And I was afraid of, because of that people were starting to see me and my channel in a different light, which would just break my heart, because I want this channel, I want this space to be a free space about art. And even though I, like many others, of course have opinions on what's going on in the world, this is not the place for it. I don't care what religion you have. I don't care what kind of politics you hold to be true. I don't care about your sexuality and what you identify as. Look at Brunhilde here. She identifies as a hard death metal singer, even though Disney clearly wants her to sing pop music. And that's okay. There's a space for her here, just like there's a space for you here. If you like sculptures, myth, monsters, or anything other that I'm doing, then there is a space for you here. And as long as you give other people space to be who they want to be, there will always be room for you here. I want to make that very clear. And with all that serious stuff out of the way, let's jump into the paint, where I actually have a funny story to tell ya. Well, not so much funny as a very telling story about me, I think. You see, as I told you, I am not used to sculpt humans, which means I am not used to paint humans. So I seeked out one of my friends that are a genius with a makeup brush and texted her the question, if I have a green baby I want to put a discreet layer of makeup on, how would I do it? And the funny part is not her answer. Her answer was actually very solid. I should put a little on the lips and some of the cheeks. No, the funny part is she didn't even bat an eye when I asked about how to put makeup on a green baby, which tells me just that my friend group are now so used to my weird questions that they don't even question me when I ask about putting makeup on a green baby. And of course I take offense to that. Now I could go the dull route and start limiting my questions a bit, or I can go more extravagant, which is exactly what I plan to do. I will keep you posted on how well this little pet project of mine is going to go over with my friend group, but I think it's going to be fun. And with that, guys, we are pretty much done with little Brunhilde's painting job and are ready to move on to the resin, where I made a grave mistake because I'm colorblind. Then I ended up putting the wrong dye into the resin. I thought it was blue because I wanted a slightly blue tint, and when you see it poured down, I think it does look blue. But later on, Mr. Clayfect informed me that it actually turned out purple. So I guess this is bath water with a purple bath bomb in it, apparently. But instead of being sad about my unpredictable color choice, I decided to embrace it, making some foam out of some fake snow, which I mixed up with some water effect from green stuff, and I have to say it just worked like a charm. But with that, my friends, I think that is it for this sculpture and it for this video! Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like little Brunhilde. Just like I hope you can forgive my suddenly serious demeanor. But you know, sometimes there are just things that needs to be said. you know? Of course you know, even Brunhilde. Well, she probably don't know, but she's trying to figure it out, I'm sure. I promise you, me being all serious is not going to be a normal thing. It is simply not in my nature. But with that being said, guys, unfortunately, it is time for me to sign off. I hope to see you next time, but if you can wait until next time, why not click on the screen to the right, where you're going to see Cthulhu, another cute little sea monster get made. But until then, as we would say here in Denmark, hold da munter.